Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. Okay, let's pivot to the NFL. I had said this, is that we all know this, that there's 7 new playoff teams every year, and there's always a good team that pulls back. And I think there's an argument to be made that San Francisco's concerning. Trent Williams said this week, I'm unhappy. They don't win without Trent Williams and McCaffrey playing. So Trent's out. McCaffrey's coming on back-to-back years where he carried the ball, touched the ball 400 times. You look at his history, when he does that, those heavy use years, the next year, Christian gets hurt. Trent Williams, Aiyuk just signed. Still not sure he's happy. Ricky Pearsall gets shot. Thank God he's okay. And I think the Rams are a Super Bowl team. I think they're in the Super Bowl bubble. I think Arizona played their ass off last year at the end and is competitive. And I also think Seattle's a total wild card. I think my take is, and this is no shot at Pete Carroll, I think they kind of underachieved the last 2 years. I like their draft picks. I like their players. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, is New York, are the Jets going to walk in to Santa Clara and kick this team in the head? Are they in trouble?
Well, all we ever did was talk about Aiyuk, and he wasn't the most important player not signed, right? Or having a contract issue. That's Trent Williams. And every day that goes by, if he doesn't play against the Jets, that's a major problem. Who knows what the Jets are going to look like, but we know they got a lot of players up front. And I would imagine Hassan Reddick has 15 million reasons to show up this week, so that they got pass rush. The Ricky Pearsall thing, I don't see how that doesn't rattle. I mean, John Lynch is at the hospital 2 nights ago or whatever. I mean, he easily could have died. How many people have you ever heard of that get shot in the chest and live?
Goes through their body and they live.
It's by the grace of God he's alive, and I think his mom tweeted out something essentially saying that. Now, from a playing standpoint, he had been banged up. They weren't depending on him, so getting Brandon Aiyuk. I think people are overcorrecting a little bit on the Niners. McCaffrey said 3 weeks ago he would have played if they had real games. They're very careful with McCaffrey, Bosa, and Trent when he's around in these fall games. If Purdy's playing well, they're going to be a problem because they still got Debo. The Kittle's healthy. If McCaffrey comes back, you got to have Trent in there because their offensive line isn't exactly loaded with first rounders. And defensively, Colin, I think they're going to be pretty good. I think their secondary is going to be awesome. Charvarius Ward is a high-end player. Lenore, this guy they drafted a couple years ago, has become really, really good. Their safety play, John Lynch might miss on some first rounders, but that guy knows safeties. I mean, they go about 4 deep of guys that will light you up. Fred Warner still, if not the best, him and Roquan, one of the best middle linebackers in the league. Their defensive line, when that gets rolling, they're always good. I think people are overcorrecting a little bit, but I'm with you. My thing goes back to Seattle is how often first-year coach, excellent defensive coordinator. It's a big transition, though. We've seen a lot of elite coordinators struggle in that spot. Not saying he will, but until he does it, we don't know. Their quarterback is still a guy that no one would pick in the top 15 if you were getting a draft.
That's right. That's right.
If you told me Dak Prescott was their quarterback or your cousin's healthy, I'd be like, oh, shit. But Geno, and the Niners have beat him like 5 straight times. Yeah. So you think McVay and Stafford are intimidated by him? Now, their talent, they get Byron. They get one of the best defenders in a draft. They're drafted in the middle of the first round. Yeah. So they are a huge wild card. Look at the 49ers schedule. If they beat the Jets, they're probably more likely to start 4-1 than struggle. So I'm not as down on the Niners, but it is not debatable. They had the craziest training camp of it. I mean, they had a player get shot. They have multiple holdouts of high-end Pro Bowlers and all pros. And health concerns, but I still like him against the Jets, Colin.
All right. Give me one team or one situation. I'll give you mine first, so I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. One team that you don't know what the hell they're going to look like. And so I can't get my arms around Philadelphia. So I'm not in love with a coach. Take out Nick Sirianni, one guy. It's a different football team. Take out Nick Sirianni calling plays. Jalen Hurts, a different quarterback. I think they've upgraded coordinators. Jason Kelsey's gone. They are a bit top heavy. I will say they've paid both receivers. I mean, they've got a lot of money at the high ends. I think there's heat on Sirianni. I think Philadelphia has proven they'll bail on a Super Bowl winning coach. They'll bail on Carson Wentz after they pay him. It's always been an intense, somewhat combustible city because of the relentless nature and the aggressive nature of the media and the fans. I love Philadelphia.
Yeah, I do
But
too.
I don't know what I think because the division is still wonky, I like them. But if you told me they went 7-10 and Sirianni got fired the week after Thanksgiving, I wouldn't argue. What do I make of Philadelphia?
I have a hard time seeing them not being pretty good because of the talent they have. And I think the coordinator upgrades are massive. I think Fangio's been one of the better defensive coordinators. If he gets the 2 defensive linemen they drafted from Georgia playing well, they draft multiple corners. They still got Slay. I think the talent they have on offense, Kellen Moore's proven to be a pretty good offensive play caller. Nussmeier, LSU's quarterback, his dad's the quarterback coach. He coached Dak forever. I mean, they got real coach. Sirianni doesn't really. They kind of want him to stay away, but he's going to get all the heat. Think about these 2 games, Thursday and Friday. To me, there's a ton of pressure on the Ravens, not because anyone's job's in jeopardy. But
Chiefs, Ravens, Thursday. Yeah.
Are you a real team? Can you hang with this team? Because this team, win or lose, they don't care. Like they don't see you in January. They're not worried about you. You need to prove it. To me, on Friday night, it's like the pressure's all on the Eagles. Because you lose a game, the Packers are good. But like you just said, the pressure, all the weird stuff with Sirianni, the relationship with him and the quarterback, they've paid a lot of money to Jalen. And they like Jalen, I think, more than Carson in terms of the guy. He's just an easier guy to deal with. He's focused, his football, the work ethic, the teammates. But part of it, it's production-based business. Like they're going to need, 30-plus touchdowns here. And the dynamic there, their division sucks. I'm not into Washington. I just don't think they're going to be. They don't have the talent. New York's the quarterback situation is just terrible. I don't think they got the talent either. And the Cowboys, I don't think are going to be the 12-win team. They're still, but them and the Eagles basically it feels like split most years. I think anything less than 10 and being in the playoffs, obviously Sirianni would get fired, but then it just gets weird. Like you just stick with Jalen because, like you said, that city moves quick. That city moves quick, and that's the thing with young quarterbacks. We just saw all these guys get drafted a couple years ago. 3 years later, they're all on different teams. These guys get huge contracts now because the NFL's making so much money. It's like, yeah, we already paid him his $70 million to get him out of here. We'll eat $20 million in dead cap. Russell Wilson. But it's not even just quarterbacks. It happens all sorts of players. So the pace in which everything happens has never been faster in the NFL. And you could argue no one operates faster in terms of pressure and urgency than the Eagles. So it's going to be I don't know either. I wouldn't bet that game Friday night because who knows? Like if you tell me the Eagles come out firing, I'd believe you. If you tell me it's weird, the game's in Brazil. I mean, what are we doing? Does that make any sense to you? I'm pro expansion and pro growth.
No.
I text a couple people with the Eagles. I'm like, are you going? They're like, oh, thank God I don't have to go. I'm doing something else. I was like, that's one of your Roger has been incredible. The league office over the internet age, the money they've made everybody, most of their ideas work. That to me is pretty idiotic. I mean, that's unnecessary, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like wasn't it a few years ago the Yankees opened in Japan or something, and they were
baseball's been
doing
that forever.
It's easy for like maybe the Mariners or the Giants, but no, I mean I like the games in Mexico City, which is an amazing city. I have friends that have been there. They're like, oh my God, you got to go in your life. Best food city, maybe in our region of the country. And I like European games. I was just over in London. There are NFL. You'd be amazed. There are not just English Premier. There are NFL caps all over London. You'll see them.
Should have just gone there. To me, that feels, if you are going to go, just go across the pond. Don't go to Brazil, where I saw AJ Brown said, we went over the rules and they say no phones on the street. So he's like, yeah, I think I'm just going to stay in my hotel room. Like if that are the parameters, probably should cancel. My team, I thought about pretty strong picking this team over the summer to win the division. I'm not. I'm going to pick the Texans. But the Colts, who I think they're pretty good. And I love their coach. Watched Anthony Richardson a couple times in the preseason. incredible talent. The ball flies all over the map, though.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Could they, if he's pretty good and stays healthy, win 10 games? For sure. But if he is just wildly inaccurate against good teams, you're going to lose a lot of those games. So it's like their margin from being, to me, they could be 7-8 or they could be 10-11. It all comes down to him. And obviously he's going to be rocky, but as the season goes, like what Shane did with Jalen, can he just get him under control? Jalen doesn't have, he throws with more touch because he doesn't throw as hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard for this guy to not throw like 100-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Oh, it's incredible.
When the guy's 7 feet away from him. So it's hard to play like that in the NFL if your team is not incredibly loaded. They're good, but I don't know if they can overcome some games where he's like 50% because the balls are all over the map.
John Middlekauff, 3 and Out podcast, former NFL scout.